Works every time. The classic prank the new guy. I absolutely love it. Welcome in to Follow Everton. It's your buddy Domino Chris. This was thought to be a solo reaction today, but since I am fighting quite a battle with strep throat right now, I've brought in two of the best, most expert pundits, borderline accountants that you'll ever find. It's the lovely Amy and the lovely Yann. I don't want you to feel left out, buddy. You're lovely too. Welcome in, lady and gent. How we feeling today?
I'm all right. This is the hand. This is the hand that shook the hand of Anders Limpar.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Jan's Twitter, he was quite over the moon, as they say, last night with quite a meeting. You want to talk about that a little bit? How was it?
Well, a lot better than talking about Everton Football Club accounts.
Right.
No, it was really, really good. It was at the Bull and Dog in Ormskirk, arranged by the wonderful Jim Buckley. There was Darren Griffiths there, the comms guy from Everton Football Club.
Great
and
guy. Love Darren.
He was talking with Anders Limpar, who recounted a lot of tales of Mike Walker, Joe Royle, Duncan Ferguson. It was just a really lovely evening.
Brilliant. And we transitioned right into the wonderful accounts and books of Everton Football Club. Obviously, things were released a couple of hours ago. We didn't really plan on doing the show tonight, but it's garnered quite the reaction. And we really wanted to be with you and get some more feedback. I believe somebody might be trying to jump in. That might be Ryan. Not sure. Somebody was in and out. We'll get to that in a bit. But okay, first impressions before we reveal anything or go into detail. Amy, when you saw the books, you saw the report, first impression, first thing you thought of. Go.
Well, I read Bill's lovely little introduction first. You know what I'm like. Got me back up a bit, that one.
That was rough.
But then I went right down to the bottom of it dead quick, because that's where all the juicy goss is in it. And we're skint. Again.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But I do want to note before I do start ranting about it, this will be the only time I say it, it's not as bad as it has been previously. This isn't the year we're being investigated for either. That's why we've been allowed to release these accounts publicly. The year we're being investigated for is 1920, I do believe. So don't let this get your hopes up about that.
1920.
Yeah, all the way back.
103 years ago.
That was probably a pretty good year.
Probably not.
Jan was only about 18 back then. So crazy. That one touched the nerve. Apologies. Yeah, I gotta say, this is gonna sound this might not resonate well with our viewers and fans here, but my first impression was that it wasn't that bad. And I don't mean, please don't twist my words, that does not mean that it's good.
Chris, your comment there, to quote Bill Kenwright, that has deeply hurt.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is I expected worse. And the point being, when I saw that, it was almost like, okay, well, that's something we can get over, and that's a bit of an improvement. Again, if that's borderline naive or whatever you want to call it, that's fine. All I'm saying is I expect it to be much, much worse, and so it was almost like a tiny little bright side.
I think they've done that for a reason, though. After everything that's gone on recently with the lying and the truth twisting and the good PR, if I was involved in public relations, the first thing I would say to them when being investigated for a lot of losses like the RBN, go and release one that doesn't look as bad to calm everybody down. Release a stadium update and show them the best year you can. So They have done that. And I think they're trying to calm our nerves a bit by showing us this one. But at the end of the day, we've still lost £44 million worth of Everton money
after selling our best player. Although, like you said, for a different, I don't know. There's a lot to dissect. Jan, your first impression. What do you think?
My first impression was, honestly, it's not that bad.
Was it actually? Or are you making fun of me?
No. Honestly, if I can jump right in there, when I looked at the actual document itself, I thought it's a huge change from previous years when we used to get these 30, 40, 50-page documents detailing Everton in the community, the women's team, the awards, what all the players are doing. And it used to be this PR produced brochure or booklet that was, this is the club, and that this is very dry, and it's very, I don't know whether that makes you wonder whether previous ones were very polished, whether previous ones were playing, playing the sort of halo effect of look at the club, look how good we are. But I mean, we're not being investigated for financial irregularities, which is a true. When you look at this, it looks rather transparent, if I may say so myself, because obviously it's done externally by auditors, so they have to know that it's their credibility on the line. So there is some wangling that you can do, like for instance, football players decide to pay themselves as an entity and get 20% dividend, and they only pay a certain amount of tax. Everything that you've done, you have to assume that it's been done all above board. So when I look at this, my first impression was, hang on, if you minus the COVID losses, right, there's losses from 2022, which were 106.2 million, from 2021 of 36.4 million, from 20 of 72.5 million, or maybe it's the figures of 139.8 million. I have no idea whether it's post-tax, pre-tax. Honestly, that's why I put the tag there, not an accountant. But when I'm looking at it, my question is, where the hell are all the newspapers getting 420 million losses from?
Right.
Do you guys know?
No,
they're adding them up for the purpose of what British journalism is, and it's to scaremonger, and it's to create a story. And if you write down Everton have lost 44 million this year, when we've just had the headline of Manchester United are $1 billion in debt, it's not going to look as clickbaity. No one's going to read your article. But if they're saying 400 odd million, that will make people read it. So I think that is just for general clickbait reasons. I think once you tax the money and you put all of the other contingencies in place, like they've done on that article that we've all just read, the figures are a lot lower, but they've not dictated what years they're looking at there either. So I don't think it's nowhere near as high as 400 odd million, unless that's a season we've not been shown.
But
I just want to say
could be including the stadium money in that as well. That's what
I believe that was part of the books, because I think they alluded to that being part of what the operating costs or whatever the case is.
But so people are saying we had to pay Lampard and his staff, and
sorry about that. That's me. Go on.
Oh no! Who's that on the line? Is it Grant Ingalls? Is it Kevin Thelwell?
That was a reminder to set my fantasy football team, which, by the way, top of all 3 leagues, but no big deal. Whatever.
Well done.
Yeah.
Do you want a job at Everton Football Club?
I might do well. Yeah. If they could sign, if I could sign Erling Haaland and players like that just willy nilly, then yeah, okay, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, people are talking about these things. I don't know whether it's worth mentioning that certain exceptional costs will still fall under the losses. Let's have a look at the actual rule. I want to address Mr. Blue Skies. The Gordon and Moise Keane money included in this year's accounts. I want to say no.
No, they're not.
This year in particular, yes, but in what was just released, no, I believe is the answer to your question.
Somebody else said here as well. Let me try and find it real quick.
By the way, we appreciate everybody joining us a little bit late on a Friday. Not too late. Yeah. James, I would read your comment, but we're not past the watershed quite yet. New phrase I've learned. Yeah, get in there.
While you're searching for that, Amy.
Moise Keane loan money. Apparently, we're garnering something like 7 million a year in his fees. So I'm going to assume that goes into the 67.7 million they've said we've garnered in player sales, some of it being Richarlison, some of it being Moise Keane's loan fee that we get. I don't know if that is included.
What was Richarlison's actual sell-on number?
55, and then they were going to pay us 5, judging by, I'm assuming, goals would be what I just put it on.
Yeah, David B says it's Friday. Yeah, funnily enough, I actually only found that out 3 hours ago. Somebody had my days all run together at this point. Yeah, Robbie. No, I know, Robbie. We had Holland for a trial. Yeah, I'm not ready to address that yet. It might upset me a little too
I'm
much.
never going to address that. I just
I
want
mean,
that forgotten.
he's just one of so many. I mean, we have so many stories of players that we've had for this and that we'd let go. It just makes you upset. I've not read Denise Barrett Baxendale's statement yet. I'm not sure if I want to right now. That might garner a bit too much of a reaction because if it's anything like Bill Kenwright's, I did not
It's a
react
lot
well to
of
that.
the same as what he said, and a lot of, did you know we were building a new stadium though? And it just goes to show that she doesn't have a clue what she's doing again in a job, really. And I only skim read it. As soon as I started thinking that, I thought, not even worth reading.
Yeah.
I do want to go on about what Bill Kenwright said about bringing that Palace game up. How dare he? How dare he bring that up as one of these good times? It was a good experience because we were all together and we were elated because we'd survived. We should never, ever have been put in that position to be feeling like that. And as our chairman, after allowing us to get in that position with bad management, bad investments, bad everything, for him to sit there and say that was a good moment for him. He can sit there and say he's an Everton fan all he wants. Yeah, he's just an idiot.
This reminds me of when I saw Cenk Tosun celebrating after the Palace game as well. I was almost like, how dare you have the gall to act like you're happy right now?
It's
And
just
he's there banging goals in Turkey.
Yeah, he's doing great. Hey, maybe we should sign him back. It was kind of interesting going back and watching some highlights of previous Spurs matches and 18 and 19, seeing Delhi score against us every match. It was almost
firstly, what I will just say is in relation to this, Lisa said, will we get a points reduction or can we get a transfer ban and a fine? Well,
technically all are possible, but
yeah, but it's going to be decided by the timescale will be decided by this independent commission. So while Premier League clubs that are embroiled in a relegation battle may want to push and say, oh, well, do the points deduction now. I mean, they just want to do that to reduce their chances of being relegated by 33%, to an extent.
Yeah. But we're not going to get a points reduction. All right. No, I'm not. I'm not going on record as saying that, no, I'm not like an expert in this, but I find that so insanely hard to believe.
I agree, because if Man City haven't been stripped of their titles because it just discredits everything and reawards it, you'd think that if there was even talk to justify that kind of sanction, then they would say, well, if we're not doing this, we're going to deduct points.
Right.
But they haven't even done that, and there's no one talking about that.
Yeah, it is funny.
It'll take a while for them to investigate it anyway. But like you've just said, if 100 offences for many different things, including grass length and cheating away to titles, it goes from here to here, done it on the City offences list. If there's not even been talk of what they're going to be punished with yet, there is no way we'll get relegated based off losing more money than we should have lost. Surely not. If we get relegated, City are being liquidated.
The Blues,
there's no way.
Can anyone remember a PL team being deducted points? The answer is yes. It wasn't for this. I'm trying to remember which team it was because it saved another team from relegation. I want to say it was either the late 90s or early 2000s. It resurfaced because West Ham avoided relegation for a similar thing where they might have been deducted. I want to say that was 2007. Sorry, I'm not exactly transparent with those years, but there has been a points deduction before, but it wasn't related to this. There's never been a points deduction related to
like something terrible, isn't it? Like cheating and criminal offences usually. Like, I don't obviously in the terms of football, I mean criminal offences, obviously fraud and stuff like that can get you deducted points. But
yeah, as I said, there's no fraudulent activity. It's just about a loss of income and a lack of generation. And through I mean, essentially when you look at the difference in turnover from 2021 to 2022, obviously you'd expect, as with everything, whether it's inflation related or anything like that, you'd expect to see a general incremental increase due to inflation and the increased net value of the Premier League and football clubs as a business, right? But the fact is, we dropped 6 positions and we were on TV two fewer times than the year before. I mean, just the 6 positions of was it a merit-based payment of 13.5 or 10.5 or something? But if you factor in the 2.4 million from the TV appearances lost, or less generated income, and the 6 positions. That alone accounts for the 12.1, or give or take, a few million here or there. That accounts for the 12 million downturn in generated revenue between 2021 and 2022. I mean, do we want to talk about are we just talking about the accounts today, or are we talking about in relation to 2020 and the FFP?
It's entirely up to you, because obviously that's a massively important part of it, isn't it? I know it's such a girly answer. Oh, whatever you want, babe. But like, obviously we can always come back to that as well, because that is the thing that most people are worried about. All of us are worried about what that means for us. The only thing we can't do with certainty is comment on how bad that is, because they're not going to release the accounts for that. They can't do it because it's being looked into. So today we've got the numbers for last season, but the year we're being looked into for specifically has to be worse than this one for them to have published this one to us today.
If you look on the website, you can see that the accounts document produced for the 2019-20 season has after-tax losses at 139.8 million,
which is triple what this one is. I'm terrible at maths. It's a bit less than triple in it. We've lost.
I think it's a bit more.
44 million. So,
but they claimed that about just shy of 70 million was lost due to COVID. So if they minus the COVID losses, they're claiming that 2020 had losses of 72.5 million. So when you add up 72.5, 36.4, and 106.2, Chris.
Wait, say that again. If you had what?
72.5,
right,
36.4, and 106.2. That's
145.7, I believe.
Sorry?
I believe it. If you said 70, go ahead, add it up real quick. I don't want to.
72.5,
right,
36.4, and 106.2.
Oh, 106.2. Okay, 108.2. It would be 215.1.
Yeah.
Doesn't FFP go over like X amount of years as well? Don't they look into it season by season, but they look into it based on a couple of seasons accumulated as well? Is that right? Because if they're going off accumulated losses over 3 seasons, that is horrific.
Yeah, but I don't. Again, will we get relegated? Yeah, of course we'll get relegated if we get a points deduction, but I don't see that happening, especially given that we have been compliant regardless of what you think, or at least that's what we're being told. Just to rewind back, I wanted just to get this right. Middlesbrough 96-97 were deducted 3 points for the unauthorized postponing of a match. I believe it was a case where they had basically asked the Prem if they needed to field, U18s, U19s just to get the match on the ground. And the Prem basically told them, hey, do whatever you think is best. If your players aren't fit, then don't worry about it. And then after the fact, they deducted them 3 points for not fielding a team.
Well, it's
big controversy there, as they were relegated basically because of that.
That reminds me of, I don't know if it's very off topic, but it reminds me of the story of the basis for the original Iraq-Kuwait conflict in the Gulf.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, exactly where you were going. When Saddam Hussein and his delegates and his government approached the American ambassador and said, hey, do you have problems if we assert our claim to the land? And the ambassador had absolutely no idea that Iraq had historic claims to the Kuwait land, whereas if there was someone that had knowledge of what was going on at the area, would probably have gone, hey, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, sure, it's totally fine. And then bang. And then he was like, what do you mean? You said it was fine. Sorry,
yeah.
Anyway.
Every day's a school day, boys and girls.
So I know Wigan as well, I mentioned that the other night, have just been deducted points for not paying their players. So they were just like, your banks are empty. Not they would be empty, but you're not getting a wage slip this week.
Not the first time Wigan's been in trouble either.
Yeah, so I don't think points deduction is very far in the terms of our footballing law that.
But again, as in terms of Premier League FFP related things, no Premier League team's ever been deducted points.
It does say, actually, according to a lot of sources, despite what was reported on the news the other day, and Reese has just brought it to attention. I completely forgot this because I've got it written down on my notes, but it was on a separate page. Sorry. Reese says, thank you for bringing this to our attention. The commission, under the Premier League rule, the Premier League news says it's 2021-22 they're investigating.
Yeah,
not
that actually was what I thought. I wasn't 100%, so I didn't want to just come out there with that. But I'm pretty sure it is 21-22 that they're investigating.
So this is what they're looking into, what we're looking at right now.
That's how I understand it. Now, again,
where did I see 2019 from then? If someone wants to tell me where
that
I
was
found
reported
that
on the news the other day when I swear it was reported on the news the other day that it was Everton were being investigated for 2019-2020. However, that could entail that because financial fair play is a rolling 3-year window. So it would be 1920, 2021, 21-22.
So that would be, again, in terms of it being a positive thing, since this year's books weren't such a loss, that will help the 3-year average go down. What a world we're living in.
However, I mean, you've got to bear in mind, though, that the potential silver lining is that if there is a points deduction and it comes next year, you'd like to think that starting with a clean slate, even if you're starting minus, is something that you can overcome, knowing that you're facing that adversity.
Because it gives you you know exactly where you are, and you don't have to worry about the what if. And
so
what
late in the season now guarantees relegation. If they do it to us this season, we're gone.
It's just it
certified in it.
I
but
think
it shouldn't do.
I mean, the lawyers would tie that. It can't happen this late in the season.
You'd tie that up.
To say it would be
unprecedented.
To say it would be unprecedented would be a massive understatement.
Yeah.
And I just don't see the Premier League putting themselves through that mess, the PR disaster that it would be. And of course, other fans of other clubs would think it was hilarious and great, but that would be the only comedic effect of it, because from a legal perspective, it would be
it'd be ridiculous. Yeah.
Mark,
here we go. Derby went into administration, got deducted 9 points, but don't worry, we are nowhere near administration yet.
So, but Mark has just said, and it's a conversation I had very briefly with someone last night, and I didn't quite get what they were saying at. But Mark, could you let us know where to look for this, and I'll try and screen share maybe an article. The Premier League have said they'd never punish the supporters, only the club. So a transfer embargo and a fine.
Yeah, but what does that even mean? If you punish the club, you're punishing the supporters. Not to belittle what you're saying, Mark. I feel like those things go together, in my opinion.
It always does.
How can you punish the club and not, a fine is the only way to punish the club? And
by punishing the owners for not running a club correctly.
Right.
But in turn, that doesn't really affect us unless, obviously,
until they raise prices.
Went, right, I'm putting your season tickets up by an extra 10% now because I've been fined. Then that would impact us. But other than that, it doesn't really technically, does it?
Good thing we got our stones in now, because those might be 200 pounds.
Yeah, they'll be flying up now.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you heard it here first. I heard from a direct employee of Everton Football Club that there is no way that they can link or associate stones for the Everton way. Even if it's the same person that's ordered them, even if they were ordered, apparently no, 23,000 plus stones, flags, bricks, whatever you want to call them, being put down. The club aren't even considering any facility to link order numbers.
Yann, I wonder if you were to cancel that, if let's just say you were to cancel 2 orders and then redo it and order them in the same exact order, that might be the way to. Oh, you asked them that too? Okay. Well, that sucks. In case anyone was wondering about the stones. EvertonWay.com, stones still available if you're interested in that.
I also have it on good authority that
we need to get that one in there.
Yeah, no, but I have it on good authority, just for the shits and giggles, that in Scandinavia, in Scandinavia, in Swedish and Norwegian, apologies for those with delicate sensibilities out there, steak.com. What we actually have on our shirt in those countries is bigmassivepenis.com.
Wow.
Oh,
that escalated quickly.
At least we're giggling it, giving everyone a laugh out there. Brilliant.
We do encourage a degree of discretion for the younger audience allowed to stay up late. Go ahead, Amy.
They've brought in an extra 3.8 million this year. However, we've just had the news that we're not allowed gambling sponsors, or they're looking into us not being allowed gambling sponsors. So be aware for another 3.8 million loss next season.
Voluntarily.
They say that every season, though, don't they? I suppose.
Yet
It's like we weren't allowed alcohol on them, so they just took the beer off the chang. And
Ivan
that was
Toney's
it.
still playing, by the way, I believe this weekend. So I'm not sure if that's going to now happen after the season or what the deal is. And yes, that's for another show. I'm just still shocked that that's allowed to keep happening right now, just from a neutral perspective. But it might be in our favor because Brentford might be playing a few teams that we want Brentford to beat. So maybe we actually want Ivan Toney playing at this point. Who knows?
We've also lost 30 million in that lack of revenue from not being on the telly as much because we were awful and we played awful football.
That one slipped by me the first time I looked at these books because I was, again, with me not knowing 100% how the Prem finances work, I was under the impression that was split amongst all clubs, TV money. That's not the case, is what you're saying.
No.
Do you know what I think? Okay, and here's my argument. There will be arguments against this, and it doesn't mean that I'm right and anyone who disagrees with me is wrong. And also, if you disagree with me, I'm not saying that you're wrong, or if you disagree with me, please don't think that you're right. It's an opinion. But when it becomes the Premier League to function as we know it, requires 20, give or take, teams. It's been 24, 22, whatever, but 20 teams at present. And in doing so, that creates a competitive competition that attracts the best footballers in the world to the most lucrative league, where they get the highest wages, where they're on TV, where there's the most money going through. And yes, and Ian Clark has said here, my argument is this TV money should be split equally. It should be equitable because it requires, regardless of the number of appearances on TV, regardless of if, let's say, hypothetically, you are Liverpool Football Club and every single one of your home games or something for 18 months is on TV, hypothetically, it should be split evenly. So because that's a fairness where one season from another, Arsenal are top, Man City are top, Leicester are top. The next season, Leicester finished but what? Just because they finished top, did they suddenly have half their games televised? Sorry.
And look at them now, I might add.
It is entirely based off you. Like at the beginning of every season, you will be told which of your games will be televised and how much of that money you will get each year. And then they might turn around, you might start having a good campaign, and they might say, all right, we've moved Everton and Spurs to Monday night at 8 o'clock, and it's going on Monday Night Football now instead of 12:30 on a Saturday, instead of the 3 p.m. game on a Sunday. So it's going to be televised, and then you'll get a little bit more money there as well. So it's like a rolling kind of process, which is ridiculous, obviously, because it does stop. It puts other teams already at a better financial advantage than some teams.
And let me ask, for example, 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when BT had a team of, when you look at the top featuring pundits that were on BT Sports, 6 out of 8 of them were former Liverpool players. Now, just as an example, I'm not saying that as an Evertonian. I'm saying that attempting to be an impartial football fan. How does that create an equitable or fair representation of sports viewership and the Premier League as a commodity? Just never mind. Everyone knows what I'm going to say because I'm preaching to the choir, and it gets frustrating. And and I was going to say the same for Sky TV and the same for.
It's certainly a frustrating day in a lot of ways. And I think even though we saw it coming, it doesn't make a difference. It's almost like, not to keep, bringing this up, but it's like every single week when we hear DCL's not training, it's like, we kind of knew it, but we still don't like hearing it. And we sort of try to expect a little bit better, yet we still are disappointed seemingly every week.
So can I look to the future? If I may, can I sort of look to the future?
I'll allow it just this once. Go ahead.
Okay. So, with a projected stadium capacity of 52,000, which is
888. Don't miss that.
Right.
I said that the other day. It's the first time I've ever seen the 888.
Okay. right? But with an opportunity to expand it to approximately 60,000, right? Yes, I agree with your comment, Peter. Unfortunately, I cannot feature it on the channel due
We've
to...
got 39 more minutes, and then we'll be able to feature that. Go ahead, Jan.
Okay. With that, we currently have a waiting list of season tickets. Now, the good thing about season tickets is it guarantees people coming. It guarantees a certain amount of match day revenue. Yeah, of course, that. However, when you have season tickets that are sold to OAPs and under 25s or under 21s at concession rates, not only do you have those concession rates, but you also have an average cost of 15 to 20 quid for a huge percentage of the per game cost of a season ticket. I mean, you can get them for 450, 550 quid, and some of them go up to 700-800 quid, but we're not paying through the teeth for season tickets when you compare it to the Emirates, Old Trafford. Yeah. Oh,
she's gonna.
Amy's just farting, right?
Oh.
No. So that amount of money is that amount of money is loss compared to, or it's a loss of potential generated income when you compare that some tickets could be sold for 40 quid. Whereas if somebody is paying the equivalent of 20 quid to go on a season ticket. Now, when we increase the new stadium, we increase the capacity, there's going to be more potential for per game ticket sales rather than all being sold on season tickets. We have a certain percentage that's permitted by the Premier League. And we're at capacity for that because you have to have a certain amount that's done per game.
Right.
But also we have, I've not lost my train of thought, but you've also got an increase in hospitality boxes, which will go from 10, 11 boxes that we've got now to, I don't know how many there's going to be.
Dozens. There will be plenty.
Yeah, and we've got the opportunity for a lot more hospitality tickets, which is a huge percentage of match day revenue. In some clubs, it's 30, 40, 50%. And so to see that going forward is a potential that we have clubs with what is it, 250, or 200 million turnover, or I mean, we've got 181 million, but then there's other things, but a huge percentage of that is stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the operation of the football. It's to do with when you write off what's the minimum maintenance payment that you get for finishing 17th, which we'd near enough had of 10, 15 million, and then you've got 50 million for we're only a business that's got a turnover of 120, 130 million. Tell me I'm wrong. Convince me I'm wrong.
I'm not.
What did you say about me?
Oh, when you were like, oh, 1 minute. I just said, oh, Amy's
you'll have. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say she'll have to watch it back, but no, It's a spoiler alert.
Some kids just played knock and run on my front door. I can't believe kids still play knock and run. Like, if they come back, I'm going to applaud them for having a childhood. That was brilliant.
Yeah, that's.
I felt like my mum. I was stood there and I was like, look, bastard, I'm in the middle of something here. Like, I was a bit fuming, but the man back, bless him.
Yeah, looking at a few of these comments, Mr. Blue Skies, the stadium will increase our popularity, TV revenue, and income streams for definite. That's 100% true. That the only thing that's going to happen when this new stadium opens is positive revenue for Everton Football Club, in my personal opinion. We can complain about Liverpool being on TV all the time, but let's face facts, they won trophies. It's not about that. No one here denying that Liverpool have had success. It's more just an opinion about
two trophies
how league revenue should be distributed.
Is it the past 10 years they've won 2 major trophies? They also won the little silly trophies as well, fair enough. But if we're still all crying about Istanbul 2005, nearly 20 years later, I don't want to hear about it. They've done well. They've not done as well as the likes of Man City. Even Manchester United are still more of an appealing prospect than they are.
I would say Liverpool.
Newcastle are better to watch right now because they're doing more. Like, they've just finally started doing something with their lives.
Well,
and I do not want to hear
some neuralgia medication there because someone's touched a nerve, Amy.
I don't want to hear any Liverpool niceness in this house. Nothing.
Guess we won't be having an away fan on for the derbies next season. We'll discuss that later. No. I might have to do a solo interview for that one.
I'm not a religious person, but I'm pretty sure a priest doesn't invite a devil into a church.
Actually, it does. He says, "Love your enemies." I'm not religious either, but I have heard that before. It's in there somewhere. Listen, we go down with it without deduction point. Yeah, I'm not getting on that bandwagon by any means. I think we're in a decent spot. I think we performed well recently, and I think even though we have what numerically might be the toughest schedule remaining of the bottom 9 teams, I still think the squad is too talented. I still think there are more than 3, maybe 5, 6 teams worse than Everton Football Club right now. I don't think we're going down, but that will be told in the next few weeks. Bitterness is real. It certainly
is.
Someone brought up Bill Kenwright's statement. Yeah, that's on there if you want to read it. I'm not going to get into that because it's gonna get me wound up.
I will.
Yeah, so will I.
Well, go on then. It's your show. I'm just the moderator.
No, it's not. It's our show.
It is our show. No, but please go ahead if you have things to say. But I'm joking, obviously. But please go ahead.
Welcome to Communist Follow Everton. No, our show. Right. What I will say, I'll open this up, and Amy, like, by all means, sorry, I just want to say this.
This is what people want to hear. To be fair, they do want to hear us comment on that statement.
But what I want to say is, it's very difficult because I don't want people to think that I have opinions. I do, but in this role, it's our responsibility, is it not, to voice those kind of things and to talk about them in an open way, in a not to bring Gary Lineker into it, but in a BBC journalist kind of way, where we discuss things but try not to show too much emotion, biased opinion over something that can divide, you guys watching. And we really appreciate it. Do comment, and we'll talk about it, and we'll try and be balanced. And sometimes I'll try and say things that I don't necessarily agree with. But what I don't like and I can't stand is when people allow their emotions to mix up what they think of Bill Kenwright as a chairman and then how they react to him as a human being. Now, I can understand anger and I understand passion. Trust me, I do. I love Everton Football Club. I want the best for us. And do I think that some things need to change? Absolutely. Because we deserve better than this. We've got players that are more capable than this. Frank Lampard, a lovely guy. Yeah, maybe he was too soft, but maybe the players couldn't give a toss. Maybe they're not playing for the badge. Maybe they don't give a fuck about passion anymore. Maybe they just get their wages and move on to something bigger and better. All these different things. Yes, he's made mistakes, as everybody does. Yes, he's delegated potentially the wrong people, but equally I do think he's become a straw man and a fall guy for Mashiri getting to claim that he's not making decisions, but he just waves his wallet and say, you make the decision that I want, otherwise the wallet is being closed and put in the back pocket. Now, just because Mashiri doesn't make the decision on paper doesn't mean it's not his decision. So Bill Kenwright ends up being the straw man and the fall guy because he's the one that rubber stamps it. Now, I understand that when you're in that situation and you see someone doing that, you want to go, I don't want to relinquish control for somebody who's demonstrating in what they're doing, potentially a lack of care about Everton Football Club. They might care about the business and the profitability, right? But the fact that, yes, and now Peter Duggan's just said that maybe he should retire, maybe he should step back, maybe he should have an honorific role as life president. Absolutely. But look who he's in bed with. It's all a shambles, right? You can't pin it all on the one guy who owns 1.5% of the football club. And the fact that we've got fans that then resort to death threats and personal messages against the family of former players, against people who are doing their job, and football is a cutthroat world. But that's exactly where I'm culminating in. And Neil Michaels, maybe you want to bring that up, Amy, the comment below, but this is exactly it. Some of the things said about him are too far, yes, but he doesn't help himself with statements like this. But the thing that I want to ask is, what else does he say? Does he hold his hands up and say, well, I'm sorry, I fucked up?
Yes, that is exactly what he does. Like, I will sit there and I understand he's an old man and he's someone's dad and he's someone's granddad and he's a person, and I get that, and I have a completely, as a human being, I can sit there and say, all right, he is a human being and he deserves some level of respect based on that. But like, all right, when I was a kid and I used to get into fights with my little brother all the time, and I used to say to my mum, well, it wasn't me who started it, it was him. It was his fault. I just absolutely battered him round the house for it. I still had to apologise for my role in that as much as Jack had to apologise for winding me up enough. If he had the kahuna to stand there, put his hands up and say, listen, there has been times in my career here at Everton where I haven't been the best I can be, and I am sorry for that, and I am trying. If he was happy to partake in some of these meetings that he's refusing to give us and just listen for once, where the people who go in and speak to him are vetted, who have to give in some sort of credentials to prove who they are, so that they give him death threats or go too far, there can be repercussions for that, then fair enough. I'm not saying I want to put him in a room full of snakes and let him get bit all night.
Mashiri wanted Benitez. Mashiri wanted
but
Benitez.
you are very right in saying Mashiri needs to take some of the blame too. In the past 6-7 years now, since Mashiri's owned us, more actually, I forgot it was 2023. Yeah, 7. He has been a constant where we've just gone down and down and down and down and down over these last 6 years. But if you are appointing someone as your custodian of this club you love so much, why is he not vetted him enough to know that he would get himself into this stupid position where he's in bed with this person who is so terrible?
Because he doesn't want to, my thinking is he doesn't want to relinquish the control of a club, because he thought that getting Mashiri in with the money and the new stadium would see him maybe go out on a high. Look, I'm passing the reins. We're moving on. Maybe we've won a cup, but we've got a new home. We've got new income. We're more attractive.
I think I struggle with thinking whether it's a love for the club or complete and utter narcissism. And I have dealt with narcissists in the past, and I just think he wants this pat on the back. And the more he's trying to fight for this pat on the back, you know, like, I love Everton. I stood in the stands and watched you all chant at Leicester at one of our only away victories that season. Or I was stood there on Palace nights and it felt brilliant, because he thinks that resonates with us. But as the person who takes care of this club, none of that should resonate with him. That should be him looking at it and going, oh dear, I should not be there again. It's the lies with Goodison Park isn't going to pass its safety certificates 15, 16 years ago. Why would you lie about something like that? It's daft, silly things where he's never took any responsibility. The West Ham game just before they sacked Lampard, he stood there on Sky Sports News, and I know he was bombarded really quickly and he probably wasn't expecting it, but he laughed. He made a joke out of us and he said, haha, maybe this isn't the best of times, when he's renowned for saying good times, and we don't like that. And I just don't think he has as much of a respect for us as fans as he likes to pretend that he does. And I just think now, if you've tried and you failed and there's nothing more you can do, it's like being in a loving relationship. If your relationship keeps going to the dogs and you love each other and you don't want to hurt each other anymore, you let each other go. And he needs to look at it like that and just say, okay, my time here is done. Let's give it to someone who can take care of this place that I love so much.
And it's very frustrating. It's very upsetting for me that Sharpie was brought in essentially as another board member to just be a yes man. He's not a businessman. He was there potentially to appeal to the fans, but he's just been put in a leveraged position. So then that the board, there's a majority vote.
It's just so that I think that was another thing they did wrong again, where they've allowed this man who is an absolute legend to a lot of us. I was raised knowing that man's name. I obviously never watched him play, but
I mean, I've had
now to put him out to the dogs, knowing he's there and not even coming out and trying to protect him in any way. I think it was a terrible time for them to appoint him. I think they were looking at the unrest and went, I know what'll make everyone happy, and instead they've kind of ruined that relationship again.
It's claps for carers. It's a pizza party at work when you want a fucking £2 an hour raise. It's if what I can say, I've had conversations with multiple people, and I'm not going to name any of them, but I've had possibly 4 in-depth conversations. One previously with my dad when he was still alive. I mean, it certainly won't be with him afterwards because I wouldn't get any feedback from that. You know, and my dad, you know, does know a certain bit from experience and looking at Everton and was knowledgeable about and not well versed about other football clubs. But the thing is, I've had conversations with several people, in-depth conversations, where it became apparent that there is a consensus among people who are qualified or experienced to judge what's going on in the club. And we even had on a Twitter space a gentleman who's very knowledgeable about business explain that you have the situation that we have at Everton at the moment is a board that is, by its very, not necessarily the individuals, but the board structure is not fit for purpose, because we have a shadow director that's using the club and the board as his plaything. We have a board that cannot function because of the position of the leverage that the shadow director has, the owner, Farhad Mashiri. And then we have a board that is functioning like a senior management team, which then means that they the accountability and responsibility is not appropriated in the right department. You know what? It's the same thing. Nothing's going to change.
It is, and
Sorry.
I do want to note that as much as it's quite obvious where I stand on the side of what I think needs to change in our club in order for us to go forward with the board level issues. But there is no way that board are going to put our club up for sale until that stadium is finished, until they've cut the ribbon on it and said, there we go, that's what we've done for you all. Say thank you for your new stadium, because they like to mention it all the time when shit hits the fan, sorry. But then once that stadium's finished and they can put a full price tag on the stadium, a full price tag on how much money Mashiri's put into us, that's when he can put a full figure up and say, this is what Everton Football Club is worth to me, and this is what you will pay. And my biggest worry with that is he's going to look at it and go, I've put 500 million into you, I've put 500 million into a stadium, I want $1 billion back, and we're not going to go for $1 billion in the slightest.
Do you know my issue is?
We'll be like a Newcastle with Mike Ashley all over again.
But there's no ingenuity at the club at the moment. They're all just single-mindedly focusing on new stadium, right? What happened? I don't know if you might not know this, Chris, but you may well. And Amy, I don't know whether you've got any experience, but years ago, under Moyes, under Silva, you know, we used to have certain things where youth games would be played at Goodison, where they'd have open training sessions. Now, why do we not have more going on at Goodison? A facility that, if it's just going to be sat empty doing call for 90% of the time at least, use it. Use the fans. I'm not saying use the fans, but utilize the fans and the passion that they have. You charge a £5 and get school kids coming in to watch youth team practices for an hour at Goodison. A £5 per person. That's income. That's,
yeah.
Sorry,
it's standard level business marketing, in it, and I forget at times that we're not just a football club that I go and support every week, and I like watching us because I enjoy watching us, and because I was raised on loving Everton Football Club and stuff like that. We are a business, and it's very sad that I have to admit that we need to be thought of as a business. But if these people are running a business, it comes back, I say it all the time, they're just clueless. They need someone in there. If they are not going to sell up, if they're not going to leave, they need to appoint people who are going to help them get out of this financial mess that they put us in season after season after season. I can't think right now off the top of my head one season where Everton have come out and said, we made money this year. It's always loss after loss after loss after loss. And I'm not counting the debt that we're in or anything like that in losses either. I mean genuine sustainability losses.
Well, even under Peter Johnson, that's what Anders Limpar said last night, that they broke up the team for no reason, and we sold so many players: Duncan Ferguson, Andre Kanchelskis, Anders Limpar went. You know, we got rid of all these players. Sorry.
No, I think everybody feels your frustration, quite honestly. I totally get it. The chat feels it.
Sorry, we've just sat there and proper shouted about the board, and poor Chris has just been sat there like twiddling his thumbs. I didn't even want to talk about this.
Stop it! No, that's what I'm here for. That's what we need to hear because, like I said, that's what's got everybody's. It's lit everybody's flame today, so to speak, because. Well, it's just a rough day. Like I said, no matter what you expected, it's still rough when you have to see it in front of you. It's still rough to come to realize what's happened in the last few years, how it's, for lack of a better word, incompetence at the top.
You need continuity as well. It's something along the lines of, look, if you're at Everton past the age of 25, if you join Everton past the age of 25 or 26 and you sign a 4 or 5 year contract, towards the end of your contract, we will put you forward if you're interested in doing UEFA coaching badges, and things like that. So then if you want to sign a contract extension or a new contract and bring you towards the end of our thing, you can then add, like, as it's called, amortisation, where you then add the add-ons, and then you're not training new staff, but it's something. You look at players like Leighton Baines, Tony Hibbert, Seamus Coleman, Leon Osman, all these players that were long-standing Everton players that knew that worked through the youth ranks, that knew the setup of the club, that knew what it meant to meet the fans, to stop in the street because fans were waving at you, to spend half an hour talking to them, to know what it means to play for the badge. Put them into UEFA. If they do well and they show a decent potential for coaching, then get them on to have some continuity so that they can start coaching the younger players, so that they can say, hey, actually, I've been to this championship game, Blackburn versus Coventry, whatever, and I've seen this young lad. Like,
yeah,
sorry, just
there's just so much better that they can do with us at the end of the day. Like, we can sit here as genuine human beings who are not accountants, not business owners, not football club owners, and sit here and say, this is a good idea. This is what we could do in order to make money. That's what we could do. This is how we could save money. This is how we could stop funneling millions into absolutely nothing. And they, as a board of directors, can't seem to figure that out, and it just seems like a lack of care. And we say it all the time, like it's just depressing. Like, we ask for players to play for the badge, care about the club, care about us as fans, and I am demanding the same thing from my board of directors. I can't sit there and slate players week in, week out when they go into a workplace that is quite obviously on its bum.
How can they not know? Look, Tony Hibbert was not a great footballer, but in the eyes of every Evertonian, he's a fucking legend. You know why? Because he played for that. And how can they not know that if you give the passion, if you run for those 90 minutes like you're going to bust a gut, that you are sweating, that you slide in, that you chase and you hold down and you're smart and you push them out, like,
that's all we need. I'm not asking for Messi-like performances out of Neil Maupay, for example. I'm asking Neil Maupay to come out and try his bloody best and love my football club the way that I love that football club. And I ask that from every single one of them, from the board all the way down to the one who cleans the lower cladding toilets. Like, that's just what we need. And it's not that bad. I'm sorry, I've got carried away with how stressed out I am about the running of the club. But in terms of today's accounts, this loss is the smallest loss we've seen in a very long time. So obviously something in there is getting better. But in turn, my angel devil are arguing with each other. And the other side of that is that half of this was offset by selling Richarlison. And I know he only scored 9-10 goals a season, but now we are missing those 9-10 goals a season.
Only 9 or 10 goals. Wow. What we would go for that this season. I would like to add that we're not football club owners yet. Give us a few weeks. Hey, wait until you see the
Champions Leagues I've won on Football Manager. I'm going in for that Tranmere Rovers manager job. Watch me get my badges. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fix us because it's just so hard.
I used to help people polish up their CVs. Send it over. I'll help you out. I feel good about this one. Jan's had to step away for a bit. I was going to get his take on Spurs since we didn't get to hear from him yesterday regarding that. What did you say your prediction was, Amy? Oh, you said Spurs were going to win. Yeah, I forgot. Get out of here.
I have to. You know what I'm like as a jinx. Everybody knows this by now. There's literally a hashtag on Twitter that all my pals use, and it's like, look, she's done it again. And I'm just
unbelievable. Jan, if you want to jump back in, I want to wrap up this reaction show and get your take on what you think might be happening on Monday night. Everton Spurs predictions. What are you thinking? What do you see? Well, most of us have a good feeling about it. I certainly do.
I had a good feeling until Spurs got rid of Conte.
I actually think that's going to hurt. I don't know how I feel. At first, I thought it was going to help because I'm back and forth on it. I still think we'll be fine, but I think with Conte, we actually might have been a little bit better. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, my frustration was, well, think of it this way, though. The damage has been done because he's put the spotlight on and, you know, he was a decent manager until he lost the changing room, until he lost the players and decided to go on that rant. But what he said in essence is somewhat true because Spurs.
It's 100% true.
Yeah, the mentality just isn't there, is there, in that team, in Spurs generally? We can cry about our board all we want. Spurs have been harping the same story for years.
There's two outcomes to that. One, the players aren't honest with themselves, in which case the mentality persists, either as a collective or individually. And two, they are honest with themselves, and then they go, fuck, I've got a problem, and I'm the problem.
Maybe. What do you think lineup-wise we see the same squad that we've seen? Possible changes, Mikolenko at left back, possibly Patterson at right back. I don't think we see either of those. And then do we continue to start Damari Gray instead of Ellis Sims? What do you think?
Wow. Yeah.
I can agree on that. He's only been in a year now, Kevin Thelwell, and he's brought in some decent players. He's not he's a director of football. What's the other term? There's two that are quite a similar job. It's like managing director, but it's not, where he has more of a say in what goes on in the boardroom as well. And I don't think he really does. I don't think that's in his current job description, really.
Right. But on to Spurs. We're past we're past Ken Wright. We're past the nonsense. We've vented our frustrations. But now we must move on because the show must go on.
Right.
Score prediction Monday.
All right, Bob Geldof. Have you seen the wall? Anyway,
no, I haven't. I'm a Bruce Forsyth fan myself. If I could be like Bruce
Springsteen.
Huh?
What?
You heard?
Nice to see you. Anyway, sorry. Right. Okay. Well, Everton Spurs. I want to say that Everton are going to score 2 goals. We've seen it. It's doable. It's possible.
We've seen it. When's the last time we saw that at home?
Away at Forest. Away at Chelsea. West Ham. No, South. No.
Was it Palace? Please tell me it wasn't Palace. The 3-0 win. Okay, go on. Sorry, don't mean to bring down the mood here.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It really, to me, it really does depend what team we put out, because I could see it being a scrappy 1-0. I could see it being a resplendent 2-0 or potentially more. I mean, I could see it going other directions as well, but, you know, is Richarlison still injured?
I believe he's been given a 75% chance to possibly play, and if so, he would probably come off the bench. Emerson Royale is out, and Perisic might be out as well. So injury-wise, Spurs aren't exactly the healthiest. I also want to add that the only time we've scored 2 goals or more this season at home is against Crystal Palace. So that means we're due. So you might be right. To be fair, we did score 2 goals against Brentford and had 1 chalked off for no reason whatsoever. So we are capable of doing it. Just a matter of putting it all together.
We have been much better defensively with Dyche as well. So
the answer, speaking of defensively, the answer is 1-0 to Everton. Michael Keane scores a goal. You heard it here first, boys and
I
girls.
put 50p on that every week, and
Get
all I've
in
done
there.
is lose a fiver.
I'll double up on that. I'll make a wager on Keen, and I almost never bet, but I will go through stake.com, of course, as we always do, at least for this season, before they are bounced as our partner. We certainly hope that doesn't happen, Premier League wise. We'll keep our fingers crossed because I think it's still up in the air. But we shall see. I feel good about it still. I think it's gonna be 1-0. Hopefully, if we can not get stupid in the box, I think Amy touched on this yesterday, and give Harry Kane an easy pen. I think we're in decent shape. We'll see.
Can I just, for the sake of this,
To answer this real quick, yes, I am.
I'm just curious though. Like, surely there's got to be. Obviously, you've got operations cost for staff, but they're on a wage, aren't they? And then you have incidental appearance wages for stewards and concession staff. But why are we not utilising Goodison as a revenue generation stream to host events, to have charities and celebrity matches, to have
Film another Creed there and the I think they're focusing it all on getting it ready for Bramley Moor, and they're going to use Bramley Moor as that kind of place. I don't know why they're not doing it at Goodison. There might be something to do with contracts that need fulfilling, or health and safety things that need doing, or something or other. I have no idea.
But Tranmere rent their do their ground out for other matches where people can play matches on it and do it for charities and events and all this kind of stuff. Like, and we had Tony Bellew fighting at Goodison and had the income from that. Like, what are we doing? When I say what are we doing? What I mean is, why are we not doing anything? Sorry.
We have someone new in charge since then, in terms of those things. That's Barrett Baxendale's kind of gig, innit? I think that comes under a kind of role.
Well, before Jan's head actually explodes, we're going to wrap this episode up. On this Friday evening, there is a long slate of games tomorrow. I will probably actually be doing a little bit of a preview show of the league games, either tomorrow or Sunday, or possibly a show Sunday to recap what happened on Saturday. Whatever the case is, we will be giving you some content this weekend at some point, and then we will have a pre and post match on Monday for the Spurs match as well, because I'll be available, but these lucky folks will be at the game. It will be quite a day out for the Follow Everton folks. I could not be more jealous, but I'm also expecting a lot of pictures and videos because it's going to be a great time. Listen, we appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you very much, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case. If you haven't liked us already, please do that. Smash that notifications bell as well. More importantly, tell a friend, tell your mate, tell your dog, tell everybody, because we are very close to 2,000 subscribers, and we'd love to smash that and really have the sky as the limit. So we always appreciate you. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the feedback. It's not as fun talking to a wall as it is talking to you, even you, the Blues. Hang on. Breaking news.
Jeff.
Hang on. Is it really him?
Welcome to the 21st century.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello. What are you doing?
Hello.
I've been listening in, but I just wanted to jump in and answer some of the questions that have come up during the show.
Okay, we'll extend this into extra time then, just for you, Jeff. Go on.
Look at how happy all three of us look.
The floor is all yours. We'll give you until you tell us to speak. Go ahead.
Right, no problems, mate. So why can't we use the stadium for other events? Because we don't get a safety certificate. We're barely passing the safety certificate as we stand to actually play Premier League games. So putting on other events to earn the club revenue, we're not in a position to do it because, our safety certificate is basically only for the games that we've got, because the stadium is shitty and is well beyond purpose. So that's why we don't actually play a lot more games. The Premier League revenue, there's a specific rule regarding the number of games that each club gets as the minimum number. So each team gets X number of live games per season, and then games beyond that are dependent on other factors, which is basically up to the people who put on the providers, Sky, BT,
bidding for the TV.
So that's basically what happens with that. With regards to the stuff I heard about, like players doing their badges and stuff, that actually already happens, Yandel. So Coleman has already done some of his badges. Some of the other senior players have done their badges, and that's been going on the whole time. So that's how it's just a standard thing. But it's up to the players to choose to do the badges. But Coleman's done some of his. Obviously, what's his name?
Taki and Cody doing
Baines, it's obviously he's done most of his badges, and there have been a lot of others, because obviously some of the previous staff have also done their badges, Unsworth being the classic example. So that's something that happens quite a lot. What else was there? What else did I miss? More questions?
everything.
What's the state of the accounts, Jeff?
Oh God, the thing with the accounts, right? So the one thing that you didn't mention is the two big things that lost us money was the Ersmanoff cash.
That USM, Megaphone, and Yotta.
Yes. So basically, we lost our sponsors mid-season, and so that basically cost us all that revenue.
Does that not count as exceptional reasons for lost revenue, which can then
it does, and that's why we've actually put in the sort of complaint to say,
will that help us in terms of this investigation? Do you think?
It should do, yeah, but only providing we can prove that we fully severed ties with Ersmanoff, which obviously conspiracy theorists will say that, he shadow runs the club. But, so long as we can prove that we fully separated from Ersmanoff, and that that was part of the reason, together with COVID, why we've considerably lost more than we should have done, then that's mitigating. That's a mitigating factor for what's gone on. Sorry, I realise that I'm looking a bit weird on the screen. It's just because I'm obviously driving my truck.
It looks like you were in
a horror movie, Jeff.
Yeah, the Blair Witch Project.
The Blair Jeff Project.
The Blair Jeff, I love it.
So yeah, any other questions?
Jeff, the people are asking lineup and score predictions for Monday. What do you think?
Lineup, same again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to bring Sims on at some point. Prediction for the game. I'm hoping that we basically just try and keep it as tight as we possibly can. I'd like an early goal, but scoring
Not
early
as
goals.
early as Brentford, though.
Would you be okay with a draw?
Right now, if you ask me, no. We need wins. Ideally, we need to win every game at Goodison, and if we do that, we're fine. But Spurs have got good players. They've got dangerous players. They're going to cause us problems.
But their away form has been dreadful, and I know they're under a new manager.
It has been, but to be fair, it's one of those situations where it's Everton, and they've just got a new manager, so we know what they've just got rid of one manager, so they might be feeling a little bit happier.
To be fair, their caretaker manager's cut from the same cloth as Conte, and he's been with him for most of his years. So
they all know him and stuff like that. So I'm hoping for a 2-1, because we're all going to the game and we're all going to be suited and booted and looking happy and drinking champagne. The dream. It's going to taste. The champagne's going to taste flat as fuck if we actually don't win the game. So
I'm more than okay with a 1-0. I would love. Can you even imagine if we're up 1-0 on 75 minutes and we actually score a goal to put the game to bed? I know I'm speaking foreign languages.
Oh God!
Wow.
I'll be
I
want 3-0 at half time. Thank you.
If that were to happen, we put a game to bed. You might actually see me the next day. Maybe I'll catch a red-eye flight over and
the one good thing in terms of obviously DCL is just forget he exists because it's pointless at the minute. But the one thing I will say is that I just think that we look a much more solid outfit than we used to. We look a little bit more mentally strong than we used to. So previous games when we played
Self-belief.
like Spurs, we concede a goal and it's game over, which I don't think is the case anymore. I think there's a bit more resilience to this side.
Yeah.
So
and
I expect to scrap.
The common thread, with the exception of the Liverpool match, every game under Deitch, we've really come out early and shown that we want to be there. Yes, the second half's not always been that case, but we've at least started early. And obviously the McNeil goal early is a different story, but just in general, the first 30, 40 minutes, you could even point to the Arsenal game as at least having been on the same pitch for the first 30, 40 minutes. So I really think that's going to dictate a lot of this game. I hope there's no storm that we have to weather. I hope we actually take the attack to Spurs, rather than let it come to us. But we'll see. I feel good about it. I hope we get a good early start as well. I'm scared to say 2-1 because us scoring 2 goals at home it's just been a while.
Let's go for a 2-1. Let's try and be positive.
Sounds good. I'll put a wager on this for you.
I agree with you. Sorry, the one other thing I remembered is, I don't see a points deduction regarding this because we haven't infringed Premier League rules. We haven't signed players out of the window or played ineligible players or any of the other things that people have done that have, we haven't broken Premier League rules. It's profit and loss rules. So I would expect possibly a fine, maybe a restricted practice, like a ban from signing players or something like that.
Something that fits a punishment that fits the crime, because essentially, if it's a financial control crime, then they're going to put restrictions on your financial exercising your financial abilities. Whereas it would be a disproportionate punishment to essentially relegate you to a lower.
I don't see that won't happen. But besides which, I mean, our owner is a useless twat. But he does have access to some really good lawyers, so
we're so lucky. We have just made it past 9 p.m. over in the UK, so that's okay.
I said TWOT.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, the American version, twat.
Yeah. Yes, I said twat.
He certainly did.
I was very careful not to swear. So,
can I end this on a positive, Jeff? Look what I got.
What, mate? Oh,
get in there.
But not only that, look at this.
Got to follow on
Twitter. I saw that. I'm sorry I've not been available to come on as much, but obviously I'm working nights, so it's a bit difficult and stuff like that. And at some point my phone will overheat and my connection will cut off, but I just wanted to join on and I just wanted to join in with this stream because it's important. The financial situation that the club is in is, to be honest, it's pathetic. And I think that the fact that, and I agree with Amy on this one, is the idea that this teary-eyed whopper can come out and say that staying up was an achievement. It just fills me with absolute rage, and I hate the man. The day he walked into the club,
I only beat her.
Sorry?
I didn't kill her. I only beat her.
Yeah.
Just he is an absolute whopper, and our owner is a moron. How can you own a Premier League club that's been in the Premier League the entire history of the Premier League and lose money every year? As Amy said, like how can we never make money ever? Like, even when we've sold players that are worth like 75 and 80 million pounds, and we still lose money. How can we do that? The reason why we do that is because clearly we don't make enough revenue, and the reason we don't make enough revenue is because we're not marketed properly. Like, the fact that you can still go online and you can't get like the kit in time, or it takes like 6 weeks to arrive to North America and stuff like that. The fact that we've had some of the most amazing players like Tim Cahill from Australia, like your man from America, Howard, And we didn't
Yeah, we've had
capitalise on those kind of things. We don't capitalise. You know, where was the tour to Colombia when we had Colombia's 2 best players? Like, where was it? Didn't happen. You know, it's just.
We had Brazil's number 9.
I think I'm not sure.
Brazil's
You and I have
number
had this
9. We've not played
conversation.
in Brazil. It's just pathetic, isn't it? So.
We've had this conversation before, Jeff. Like how you go over to Malaysia in the Far East, even when they don't have players there, and there's billboards for Arsenal and Chelsea, and it happens in Africa and Man United and Liverpool, and we actually have a viable foothold in these markets, and we're not capitalizing it for
had
shirt
China
sales,
as the sponsor, and we didn't play in Thailand. That's just criminal negligence. It's just
101, isn't it?
Yeah, we just run like a pathetic boys club. So yeah, I just wanted to join in because like I said, I felt the outrage coming. Like, well, I've been watching the YouTube, and I can't really comment while I'm driving along. But
no, Jeff, you did great, mate. I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up. We all kind of feel the frustration, and it's
yeah. I just have to join in with the rage fest.
No, I hear you. Amy's bounced off a little bit early. Jeff, anything else before we shut her down?
No, thanks for the car parking space, Yann. See you all on Monday, and up them effing toffees.
Up them effing toffees. Cheers, mate. I've already given you the like, subscribe, and share spiel, but if you missed it, hey, please do that. It helps us out a lot. For Yann, for Amy, and for
hello. Sorry, one other thing.
Go ahead.
Hello to everyone who's watching. Sorry, I've not been as much recently, but I have got internet now, so I will be able to do. Other than this Monday, I will be able to do post-match reactions on Saturday and Sunday from now on because I've got 21st century internet.
I love it. The chat has made it very clear that they've missed you, and this was quite a cool surprise for everyone involved. But hey,
I've missed you all as well, so it's been nice to join on and say hello to everyone. So,
but no, regardless of the frustration that we experienced today, which is a lot, we must move on. And right now, the only thing that matters is Monday night against Spurs. We need 3 points. I'm not happy with a draw. I want a win, and I think Spurs are there for the taking, no matter who their manager is. But hey, we will see. Yeah. But cheers to everyone for joining. We will see you next time. Like I said, either tomorrow or Sunday, I will be available. Who knows who will be with me? That is part of the fun of the surprise, I guess. Thanks.
I might be on Saturday, but on Sunday I'm in Manchester.
Ooh.
Doing what?
Mind your business.
Oh, fair enough. Join us then. All right, cheers, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Nice one. See y'all. Bye.